Joining me now from Mendham, New Jersey, is Republican presidential candidate and former governor of the Garden State, Christie. Thank you so much for joining me. You are also a former U.S. attorney. You prosecuted lots of high-profile cases. How valuable do you think this cooperation could be?
Very valuable, because this is a guy who has firsthand knowledge of what went on in the aftermath of the subpoena, grand jury subpoena being served. What were the machinations of the people around Donald Trump and perhaps of Donald Trump himself? And so while it's not a make or break bit of testimony, I don't think it's another building block in having people who are cooperating now against Donald Trump and going to give testimony about his conduct. And that cannot be a comfortable moment for him.
Well, that was going to be my next question. You were still in his orbit and worked with him. You were friends with him. You saw what happened when Michael Cohen flipped. Given that, how might he be feeling about this right now?
Well, two things will happen. One, this man will be vilified, attacked, and savaged by Donald Trump publicly. And then secondly, Donald Trump will lay in his bed at night staring up at the ceiling, trying to remember every conversation he ever had with this guy while he's sick to his stomach. And this is going to repeat itself, Dana, over and over and over again over the course of the next number of months. It's going to repeat itself in Georgia, when some of those co-defendants invariably are going to take a plea and a cooperation deal and will cooperate against Donald Trump. And it may happen again in this matter, in the federal matters that are pending, with folks who are either indicted or unindicted co-conspirators. And so, you know, this is what the Republican Party is facing. Drip, drip, drip on the guy who's the front runner, which is why he cannot be the nominee. And if he is the nominee, he will not beat Joe Biden.
You know, you have been in this race for 3 months as of yesterday. You've spent a lot of time hammering the former president and saying things like you just said, drip, drip, drip. He is not the guy that the Republican Party should have to go against Joe Biden. Meanwhile, the former president's lead has actually expanded. We saw it not just in a new national CNN poll this week, but in early contest states where these will be decided. Why do you think Republican voters aren't buying the anti-Trump message that you're selling?
Well, first off, I think a lot of them are. And you know, we're at 14% in New Hampshire, and we're going to continue to climb in New Hampshire, I suspect. But secondly, look, this is going to take some time, Dana. This is a guy who has been at the front of every Republican voter's mind for the last 8 years. And it's not going to happen overnight. But as these things become more and more real, as the trials approach, and as they do approach, you're going to see more of what happened now with this cooperating witness. It will become more real to people. And when it does, they're going to realize that we just simply cannot nominate Donald Trump. Whether you think the indictments are fair or unfair as a Republican, they are a reality. We now have to deal with them and his underlying conduct that caused them. And both of those things, in my view, are disqualifying for him as a candidate. And I think that Republican voters will ultimately come around. But they're not going to come around without people like me being out there continuing to make this point patiently and with persistence. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, Dana, because it's the truth.
And, you know, you've touted your support, not just from the 14% that you just mentioned in New Hampshire, from more broadly Democrats and independents, who you say that you're going to need in order to win a general election, you or any Republican. And the question is, what if that same appeal is turning off Republican voters that you need to win the primary? 66% of GOP voters in that CNN poll said that they would never vote for you, which was the highest of any candidate in that race. Is that the result of the message that you continue to push?
Sure. It's a result of the fact that there are a lot of people who are uncomfortable at this moment with the truth being told about Donald Trump. But that will change over time. And the fact is that you have a party that's divided essentially into three lots. One that's with Trump no matter what, another part of the party that is against Trump no matter what, and then a third part of the party that says, I might vote for Trump, but I am definitely willing to consider an alternative that could beat Joe Biden. I'm appealing to those people who are in that middle, that alternative folks, the folks who are looking for an alternative, and also for the folks who would never vote for Donald Trump. And look, any of the other folks who say they're for Trump right now and unwilling to change their mind, who does change their mind, we'll be willing to welcome them too.
Here in Washington, House Republicans are making noise about launching an impeachment inquiry into President Biden related to his son Hunter's business dealings. Just on the simple question of impeachment, is that the right way to go for House Republicans?
I don't think bringing an impeachment, articles of impeachment right now is the right thing to do. I think that the fact is that we don't have the evidence to do that at this point. But I do think, given everything we just heard in the last segment about the Hunter Biden situation, the fact that they're now willing to do this means that either the fix was in the last time or there was rank incompetence on someone's part, because these things were obvious to me in the weeks before the Hunter Biden plea deal. All of that smoke and fire around Hunter Biden definitely makes us absolutely need to ask questions about whether or not the president was involved and in Hunter's business dealings. And however the House chooses to do that, whether it's through their oversight function or some other mechanism, I think it's right for them to do it, but not just them. The special counsel needs to be doing it as well.
Before I let you go, Donald Trump says he does not plan to attend the next Republican presidential debate, but he did say recently that he would debate the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, because he doesn't like the way she dealt with the Queen. You're smiling.
Look, he says so many ridiculous things. I think that there is absolutely no interest in either Donald Trump or Meghan Markle debating about anything. And if people really want to have the real issues that are concerning their lives, like inflation, our role around the world, our troubled education system, crime and law and order in our cities debated, we need to have serious candidates on that stage. I tell all people, go to chrischristie.com, donate, keep me on that stage and keep plugging. We're going to keep telling the truth, Dana, and let him go and talk to Meghan Markle. Maybe they can have a Spotify broadcast together.
Ooh, okay. Those are fighting words. Governor, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on.
Dana, thanks for having me.